Jessica.
And today we are going to be doing the mid-year book tag, specifically with Sarah Caroli's questions. I don't know if she's the one that made all these questions, but I got them from her video. So we're just gonna jump right in. I can go first. Starting with best book you read in 2024. I'm gonna say Heartless Hunter and Funny Story. And I feel like these are both really controversial books. Mainly Heartless Hunter is my favorite because it got me out of a really bad slump. So it's just like one of those things where you're like, oh, you were there for me in the hard times. Same with Funny Story. I love this book. It was super relatable.
Okay, for me, I just went with kind of off of my first 5-star read of the year. And that was As Good as Dead, which is the third book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. And the reason I picked this one was because we'll get to that later, but I really just thought Holly Jackson as a writer went like all in with this book. She took some risk in the way she wrapped up the series, I feel like, and I appreciated it. So.
Okay, the next question is, how many books have you read so far this year? I'm at 41 currently. I'm very happy with this number. It's honestly more than I thought I've read, and I feel like I've definitely had a quality over quantity type of year.
I read 38, which is a little less than I would have liked, but given life circumstances as of the last few months, I feel like it's to be expected. And I do feel like this year I have read a lot of genres, and I'm trying to step more out of my comfort zone and go try some things that I wouldn't naturally be inclined to try. So with that being said, I guess I'm fairly happy with 38.
Okay, next up is the best sequel you've read so far this year, and I'm gonna say A Cross Country Wedding by Courtney Walsh, and this is on Kindle Unlimited. The first book is a Christmas book. You do need to read the first one
and
first.
It's so good.
And that book was so good, and I love this one even more.
Really?
The characters from the first book were in it the entire time, and so that was really fun. I just thought it was a really funny book. Again, it was dual POV, so I liked that. And any book with like some sort of travel element, I really like. I really enjoyed that one, and I didn't expect to.
Okay, for me, it was Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. People tend to like When in Rome and not this book, and I'm not quite sure why, because I actually, if I had to choose between the two, I would say I liked this one even more. I thought this one was so funny. Because the main character, Annie, just like her personality, she was so relatable. Her inner dialogue was hilarious. And I don't know why people don't like this one, but for me, this was like one I was nervous about, but then I was like super excited to have read it. So, yeah.
Then we have a new release you haven't read yet but want to, and for me that's Destroy the Day by Bridget Kimmerer. I never know how you're supposed to say it. And I'm really surprised that I haven't read this yet because I
Do you own it?
No. I own and love the first two books, and I just finished rereading them. I got Destroy the Day digitally, and then I saw one of my friends like was kind of disappointed about it, and so I've been putting it off. So I don't know.
Okay, for me, the book that I was really excited to pick up, I think just last week, was The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. This cover just embodies everything I love. It's giving cottagecore vibes. It's giving cozy. It's giving whimsy, summer. I don't know. This is high on my TBR. I am really excited to read this. The end pages are purple. What more could you need? There's like a cat with wings on the cover or something, and I want to live in this house. So, The Spell Shop for me.
Okay, the next one is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I know we have at least one in common, which is Spectacular by Stephanie Garber. And then the only other one, like, I'm really excited for a lot of books, but I couldn't list all of the ones I was excited for. These are like books that I know the day it comes out, I'm going to get them. And the second one is Nothing Like the Movies by Lynn Painter.
Yeah.
I am so scared of reading this because apparently it's a second chance romance. So that means they broke up, which is just tragic. But I think it's going to be okay. I feel like I'm getting like borderline spoilers for the like people and like influencers promoting this book. And I don't want to know anything.
You probably didn't even want to know it was second chance,
yeah.
did you?
No. I don't
Because
like
I didn't know that.
knowing things. It's probably common sense, common knowledge.
I mean, it might be on the back of the
like,
book
why
even.
would no conflict happen? I'm just stupid for thinking that. Wishful thinking, but those are mine.
So besides Spectacular, I put Air by Sabah Tahir, and this book is set in the same world as the Ember in the Ashes series, following different characters, but I think you said there is some, like...
Someone's gonna make an appearance.
Yeah, maybe like some cameos or something. And then the other book that I will be purchasing whatever day it comes out, I think it's in October, is The Courting in Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. Mary E. Pearson is the author of Vow of Thieves, or Dance of Thieves, Vow of Thieves, two of my most favorite books of all time. So I will be snatching that up the day, and I'll pay full price and I don't even care.
Yeah.
I know. Getting crazy.
You should have done that pre-order sale.
I should have. And the cover is really pretty.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that book. I don't know. I
We
feel
didn't buy
like
it
those
anyway.
cells like catch me off guard, and then I feel like so overwhelmed and underprepared. So I should have like a.
But it doesn't charge.
I should have like
you.
a list, like a running list, so I'm prepared when these
So
things happen.
let me introduce you to Goodreads.
Yeah, I have that, but I'm not like, oh, this one is coming out. Like, I don't have a good sense of timeline.
You're just not online as much as you should be.
I guess. I don't know.
Okay, for biggest surprise, I took this as like something you didn't expect to like as much as you did. And I actually have two mysteries for mine, which is also a surprise. And that is the Natural series as a whole. I did not expect to like this more than the Inheritance Games by any chance. I was just like, oh, it's just gonna be like funny, haha, whatever, another YA book. But I like every book she is releasing after the Inheritance Games, I'm like, why can't we get more Naturals content? Like, she sees all this hype, and we're getting 2 Inheritance Games books this year. And quite frankly, I don't want them. The final, Brothers Hawthorne really disappointed me, and I will be reading both of the new books, because I will read everything she writes, but, like, I'm just not as hyped about it. Anyways. Then, we have None of This Is True by Lisa Joel. You heard me rant about it recently, but I never, like, obsess over a thriller or anything, but this one, I dropped everything for it.
And didn't you like listen to most of it, right?
All of it.
Oh.
In like 2 days.
Yeah, she lived in her headphones. I think she slept in them. I think she showered in them. I
I definitely worked out. I ate, and packed and just anything I could. Drove when I was driving to work. 10 out of 10.
Not in her headphones, but that would be funny. Okay, for me, it was The Forgotten Garden by Kate Morton. And the reason this was kind of a surprise to me is I just picked this up on a whim in the clearance section of half-price books. And I was like, oh, I need to read something by her because I've heard good things. And then I started reading it and I was like, man, I feel like this book is a commitment. Because there's so many timelines happening in this book. It's like once you start it, you have to like either be like, okay, I'm not in the mood for this, or I'm gonna commit. And so I went back and forth, and then I finally committed. And the ending of this book, I still think about. It was such a beautiful story that was necessary to tell over all of these timelines, and so I'm glad I committed, and you should too.
For favorite authors, this honestly feels pointless because I'm just talking about all their books, but it's Annabelle Monaghan and Courtney Walsh for me. I've only read one Annabelle Monaghan book this year, but I just bought her newest release, and I read Nora Goes Off Script last year, so love her. I love, like, women's fiction that's still lighthearted. Like, you can read it and not find a deeper meaning, but, like, if that's what you're looking for, there's so much depth in her stories.
Okay, this question says favorite author, debut, or new to you. I put something for every single one. And for debut, I put Ashley Flowers, who wrote All Good People Here. And I feel like I don't hear a lot of people talk about this book, which you should listen to the audiobook of this, by the way.
Right.
But it's a crime book that reads like a true crime book because Ashley Flowers is a podcast host of a true crime podcast. And yeah, I feel like this book was really interesting, and I think more people should talk about it. And then for new to you, I put Emily Henry because I recently just read Beach Read, and that was my first ever Emily Henry.
Do you know
book.
what one you want to read next?
I think People We Meet on Vacation.
You're just gonna go chronological?
Yeah. I didn't even know Beach Read was her first one, actually.
Yeah. I feel like that is good because I feel like People We Meet on Vacation was my first one. And I feel like her writing is drastically different.
Have we haven't read Beach Read?
No, I know. I feel like a lot of people hate People We Meet on Vacation, and I don't really get it.
I'll see.
But that's just
I'll let you know.
I really liked it, but it was my first one. Okay, for newest fictional crush, I have 3. So, first up, I find a way to feel sorry for everyone, and then that makes me love them.
Yeah.
So, first we have Wyatt from Same Time Next Summer. He put her in her place in a nice way. And I admire that because it was relatable. I need to be put in my place a lot. Then we have Powerless. I don't think I need to say anything. That is just great. Then we have Miles. And this is quite honestly because he really reminded me of my boyfriend. And I really saw myself in, I think her name's Daphne. Yeah. So this was just like weird because I was like, this is almost too relatable. It was super weird, actually. But that's why I liked it.
Okay, for me, I feel weird answering this question, honestly.
Just a favorite character.
Okay, we'll just say I don't have a crush on any of these people, obviously, but favorite male characters, I will have to say the guys in these 2 books because, okay, this one, Will is like grumpy, brooding, like buff. My husband. And then for the cheat sheet, okay, honestly, this book I didn't love until I always liked the main character, Nathan. But what he does at the end for our main girl, Bree, is like he set the bar so high for men. Someone should copy this idea, do it, and then send me a reel of it happening, and it would literally bring me so much joy. So some girl out there, tell your man to read this book, have him do what Nathan does for her at the end, make a reel of it. You'll go viral, I promise.
Okay. But like, do we get a portion of the money if they go viral?
The proceeds.
We need proceeds. Okay, next up we have Book That Made You Cry, and the only option was Little Women because
That's a good one.
Because Beth, because
Marmy,
because everything. This book is just. It took me a long time to read, but I'm proud of myself for taking. Yes, but also like having self-control, not making myself read it fast because I feel like, well, one, I just remember like everything that happens that's not in the movies, and just I feel like I appreciate it way more for taking the time to read it. But that was
okay. I don't cry. Except I have been a lot lately for other reasons. But I can't think of a book that made me cry since Throne of Glass. But if I did, it would be
If you were gonna cry.
if I was close. We were gonna just say what book made you close to crying, it would probably be Malibu Rising, which I just finished a few days ago actually, and it's like I felt maternal proudness towards our main character Nina at the end of this book. Can't say what because it would be a spoiler. But also just like the sibling dynamic in this book I loved, and it had me in a chokehold. How they are all close and took care of each other, and despite their life circumstances, which were really sucky, they just made the best out of it. So yeah, I would definitely say Malibu Rising.
Okay, next up is a book that made you happy, and I'm still gonna say the Natural series because I just binged it, and it was just a good time. It was a carefree book. It was like, I don't know, it was the closest thing to reality TV I feel like I could have found. And again, I listened to all of them, and so that was also great. Again, while I was working out, whatever. One day I was just so into it, I listened to 8 hours in a day. So I guess you could say
Okay.
a pretty lonely person.
I'm gonna say this one again because of the ending. Because when it ended, I was like that. But also the closure that the main character finds at the end of this book was very satisfying.
Is that a standalone?
Yes. Like, yeah. I just found, you know how like the endings of some books you're like, oh, that wasn't very satisfying, or like I wish
Yes.
this or that. I felt like this was wrapped up and gave me closure and the main character closure at the same time.
Okay, for most beautiful book, I had to do two, and they're both just special editions. And first of all is the Puffin in Bloom. Why do we have two like huge publishers that are both birds? I just need to know. Anyways, we have this edition of Emma. I saw it, I think, in Desi's video, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's Emma, which is part of my name. It has a bow, it has strawberries, the colors are perfect. I just love it so much.
And I was like, you need it.
And I have read Emma, so it's not like I'm just buying it just because it's pretty. I do actually really like this book. And it has a quote on the back, and it said, "It is such happiness when good people get together," which I also thought was cute. And then we have this little edition of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which was my first Jenny Han series, and I've reread it, and I just love it. It's like my comfort movie also. I think it's one of the best adaptations of all time. It's so good. I love this story.
I'm just gonna repeat the Spell Shop because I've had this on my like TBR, I guess you would say, on Goodreads, like trying to keep track of when it was coming out. And then, I mean, I saw this obviously on Goodreads, but then when I saw people posting pictures of this, I was like, immediately, like, some books I don't rush out to buy, but I was afraid they were gonna stop putting the sprayed edges on the, after the first edition, so I made sure to go pick it up. I do wish it had something on the actual hardcover. That would be nice, but we can't have everything, so the sprayed edges I'll take.
Okay, for books you need to read before the end of the year, I put the cheat sheet and the rule book. I only have these books and the Charleston books left, and then I'm done with all the Sarah Adams books, so I really want to read these. This is also broken.
Yeah, what's up with that?
These are things that people probably
And
don't
I did
look
just
at,
buy the
but
Charleston book. You could have said
yes. But like, these are priority.
Yeah.
If I get to those, that's great.
I need to read
But
the
I have a
rule book
lot
also.
of
I
romance
remember
books I'm wanting to read. But then also my fall TBR is growing in my
And it's
head, and
creeping
it's
up.
yeah, it's not consisting of romance. So I'm trying to push through we're about to go on a major road trip, and I cannot wait to just absolutely ignore everyone. I'm just gonna sit and read and just take doses of caffeine and just try to read literally nonstop. I need to enjoy my time. And then destroy the day again because I just want the satisfaction of finishing a series too.
Okay. This is kind of hard because the books that I need to read and the books that might be 5 stars, I kept them separate and I don't know why I did that. Because they could overlap. But that's okay, we're just going to go with what I initially put. So first we have Mortal Heart by Robin Lefevers. This is the 3rd book in the His Fair Assassin trilogy. I'm like 100 pages into this. I think I read this like, or started it before we moved. I don't know. I need to probably just start it over. But there's a duology that's set in the same world as this that I want to read also, but I need to finish this one first. Then The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I can't believe I haven't read this yet, but I really want to read it and take my time and digest the undertones that are present in this book and not just like rush through it and think about the plot.
Compared to the other ones.
Then we have Lovely War by Julie Berry, which I also think could be a 5-star prediction for me, but this is like all the rage right now, and I think for the right reasons because it sounds truly amazing. Then I've been saving this, The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young, for when we move to North Carolina because this is set in North Carolina. Now we're in North Carolina.
It's also set in the summer, and
so
it came out in like October, and so I want you to have the experience.
I need to take this with me probably. So I am really excited to read this. I love Adrienne Young. The end. Then Divine Rivals. Okay, the reason that I want to read this is because in my mind, these two sound very similar. And I want to see if they are and which one is better.
You're not a fan of the torture pose department until you read Divine.
So I would like to read both of these. And then finally, this is ambitious. I realize.
I haven't completed this feat.
But we've been in a discussion about Brandon Sanderson and, you know, the new book coming out in the Stormlight Archive series, and I've read the first 3, but I haven't read this beefy boy Rhythm of War yet, and so I would like to read this before the new one comes out in December. However,
that's crazy.
However, now Emmalynn got me, she's tickled my ears, if you will, about the idea of a reread. And I would like to do that. In theory, it is a great idea.
I am not jumping to read the new book as soon as it comes out because it's going to be like 2 years before the next one.
These pictures are so good.
I'm halfway through this book. And honestly, I know everything that's going on. I still remember.
When did we read these? It was like
2020.
I feel like it was before that for me.
I think you read the first one before that, but it was like the 4th book I ever read as like getting back into reading. I read the Hunger Games series, and you hand me this literal brick, and the school's closed. So that's when Oathbringer came out.
Yeah. I don't know. I do feel like because when I read this, yes, I've always been a reader, but I don't feel like I appreciated it as much as I would if I read it now. And now that there's all these vines about the characters and there's lore involved, I just feel like, yes, it would be a good idea to reread it. Maybe if we reread it together, I would be more inclined.
I mean, we could use a new copy. It got stuck in my locker at school.
She's been through it. How many 5-star reads have you got this year?
I've had 6, and you'll have to hear me out. The first one is 4 books, and that is the Natural series, because not one of those books were a 5-star to me. Like, I all loved them equally, but the series as a whole, 5 stars, no complaints, except I want more. Then I have Little Women,
obviously,
and then we have Powerless, funny story, none of this is true, and The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley, which we own, and I forgot to get, and I'm not getting up. But I love all of those books equally.
For me, I kind of have 2 categories of 5 stars in my mind. I have like books that are 5 stars, the writing is 5 stars. The story, 5 stars, the plot, all of those things. And then I have books that just gave me that 5-star feeling, which like made me happy. So for my first category, which is the writing is 5 stars, I gave As Good as Dead 5 stars by Holly Jackson and The Forgotten Garden. Then for just vibes and how it made me feel, we have When in Rome by Sarah Adams, Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, and then we have My Phony Valentine and My Lucky Charm by Courtney Walsh, which are just... Courtney Walsh has a great ability to have really good banter that stays clean. And I feel like her characters are just so relatable and endearing that you just can't help but like love them immediately. So those were mine. So that's 7 for me.
Okay. Then we have the rereads, so we're allowed to talk more about this. For me, it's Way of Kings, Throne of Glass. I kind of just want to read like Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Assassin's Blade. Like just the first 3. I miss Dorian and Kale, and I'm a Kale girl. Like I like Dorian way more, but I don't understand why people don't like him.
I don't either.
Like I also loved his book.
It's like okay, spoiler, it's like they don't like him because she didn't for a while. So is it like a loyalty thing that they... I don't know. I don't feel like he did anything that bad.
If anything, he was just mad at her.
And she did things that were way worse.
Yeah,
I
mean, she kept secrets from him and lied to everyone him and stuff, and he was distrustful.
I mean, she kept secrets from everyone.
Yeah, but like, he was the only one really distrustful of her in that group, so I guess that's why people hate him.
Anyways.
Then I have The Hunger Games. I just want to read the original trilogy before Hamish's book comes out, so I still have... That's until February. But these are the books that got me back into reading, and I haven't read them since, so I want to read them. And then I want to read Nora Goes Off Script again because I read Same Time Next Summer, and I'm about to read Summer Romance, so I just kind of want to read them all and see what my favorite is, or like, since this was like her first one, how these compare. Like, do I just like this one because it was the first one I ever read, or do I still think it's the best? And then, if possible, this isn't a must, but Caraval before the book comes out in October. The whole series.
Okay, for me, Caraval is a must. I love Caraval, I think, more than you. You love Once Upon a Time.
I'm just a Delulu girl. You're just
I love this world. And the vibes, I think I read this last fall. So I just feel like I need to do that again.
I will say, I would do anything. If you would be like, what's one show you want right now? I would say Caraval.
That would be amazing.
It would just be like, kind of, like a Regency with magic.
Yeah. And that's why I think Ellie would like this. But anyways, so for me, Caraval, obviously, and Throne of Glass. I would like to reread with the new covers, which I'll buy.
Okay.
And I would like to annotate it. Stop. And then I might go on a reread journey with you of The Way of Kings. We'll see.
Okay.
Don't pressure me. Don't. Stop.
I'm not answering any of your questions, though, if you reread them before and don't know what's going on. If you're like, Emmalynn, how did
I would have to spend a solid day watching recap videos on YouTube.
Just read them.
Before it's such a big commitment.
You know what really made me want to reread this? And this is so random. You probably know. When we watched the second Dune movie, I was like, I just want to read like a
For me,
a deep fantasy book.
For me, every time I watch Gladiator, it makes me think of Kaladin.
Really?
Yes, because I feel like Bridge 4 is very similar to, like, the band of brothers that Gladiator, like, that they have, that they, like, end up fighting together.
Yeah, that's true.
And it reminds me of that, and then I'm like, oh, Bridge 4, you know?
I just... Soup. I don't know, what is his name? Rock.
Yeah. Every time I see a rock, I think of rereading The Way of Kings.
Every time you see a rock, you think of soup.
Yes, obviously. That makes sense.
Okay, next up is a book you enjoyed with mixed reviews. And I'm going to say funny story because I feel like this is one of her most controversial books yet. Like, I feel like everyone's either like, oh, I was so disappointed, or like, oh, this was my favorite one.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why.
For me, it was As Good as Dead because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, it's like so dark and it's like takes a different turn than the others, which is true. But I think that's what kind of makes it stand out. So
That's true.
That's my
Okay, last question. 5-star predictions. We have the cheat sheet again. Summer Romance and The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. I read The Wishing Game, and I kind of went through a phase last year where I would like make myself think that I didn't like a book as much as I did because I felt like I was rating too many things too highly. So I was like, The Wishing Game is like a 3.5 stars.
Here's the thing.
And I think about it on like a daily basis.
We're just easy to please, that's all. It's not a problem.
Yeah,
It doesn't take much to make us happy.
But the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, that was at least like a 4-star. At least. Maybe even more. I just think about it all the time and I'm like, what was I thinking? I don't know what I was doing.
Okay, some of mine overlap. So I just said Annabelle Monaghan in general. I haven't read anything by her, but I do want to at least read Nora Goes Off Script this year. I said The Wishing Game, which I actually just got a digital copy of from the library. So I do want to start this soon. I don't know, like, people say this is like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but you said it's kind of like Matilda, right?
That was your vibe.
And Matilda was like one of my childhood favorite movies. And then I also have The Lost Story because Narnia is one of my all-time favorite books. Like, every time I read the Chronicles of Narnia, I cry. So, you know, that's like, whoa, that's saying something. And then I also put The Ministry of Time because the concept of this just sounds so unique to me that I feel like if it can live up to the hype, mostly the overall plot and idea of this book will bump it up to a 5 stars for me. So, yeah.
There we go.
That's all.
That's all.
That's all. I know it was like, we got through that so fast. Wow. Now we need to, like, actually, you know, read and be productive. Be productive.
What kind of productivity? I don't know.
Like reading productive.
Okay, we can do that.
Rotting, but reading. Rotting and reading.
Let's go.
We should make a shirt that says rotting and reading. I would wear it.
With like a moldy book on it.
Yeah.
A book with yellowed pages.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed this video. We hope it's been a good reading year for you so far. And we will
comment below any of the questions you want to answer.
Yeah, let us know what your favorite book was.
Like, what was coming to mind when we said our answers.
Or tell us a book you think we should read before the end of the year is over. We'll take suggestions. We like buying books.
I'll take them, but I don't need them.
But we'll consider them. And let us know if you think we should reread The Way of Kings.
I am.
But they need to let us know. Maybe they think it's fine to just go straight into Rhythm of War. That people might have an opinion.
Well, you can take that opinion and I won't.
Anyways, we'll see you in our next video. Bye-bye.